Hey, good evening. Wow. I don't know if I got cut off or I started too soon. This is Jacqueline O'Neill with Corpus Christi Realty Group here in Corpus Christi, Texas. My husband also works in real estate in the Houston area. I think it's important to do this video right now because we are going to be experiencing and continue to experience a very hot market right now due to low interest rates and uncertainty due to our political situation. There are a lot of people fleeing particular states in order to find states that offer more freedom, I have to say, and less control and lower taxes. And so Texas is becoming very popular, and I've heard other people moving to Montana and Idaho and different places. But what I'm hearing about all over the nation in various cities and states that there are multiple offers, even to the point that the offers are like $100 some $1,000 over asking. Okay, because there are people moving from places such as California, potentially New York, and where a $500,000 house is like 1/3 of what they have over in California, or 1/4. And so they can afford to pay significantly more than our normal market value. So we're in this very turbulent, rapidly changing market, and literally changing from month to month. Okay. So there's appraisal concerns when you have multiple offers and the market is changing quickly. Are the appraisals going to keep up with the market? Okay. And so with that being said, I'm going to give you an example. This weekend, I listed a adorable little place on the island, and we knew we could have listed it higher, but my clients are, I have to say, kind of like myself. We're not interested in trying to overprice because we can. We understand that our houses need a little work that we would like to do, so we're going to price it for fair market value. Okay, but due to the rapid change in the market, we listed a house at $259, and that was a really solid value for that home, in the sense that compared to 6 months ago or even 4 months ago, that would have been a good price, and maybe worth a little more, but we were going to price it around there. And interestingly, we had 8 offers in 2.5 days, maybe 3 days, 2.5 days. And 8 offers, potentially more. And then I was being asked if I was accepting any more offers. And at that point, we had already negotiated an offer that we were going to accept. Now, I can say this, it went significantly over asking. We have a very quick close. And the buyers were a little concerned about the value of the home. But in light of the market, and this is where you need to know your market and have your piece, is you need to know what that home is worth to you. Okay, so what do you mean by that? It means in a market where there's no inventory, and I have an island of, I don't know how many thousand homes, but there's like maybe 2 houses under $350 some thousand. And so there's a huge demand and no inventory. There's no homes. Like my realtor friends and I are like, we're ready to go knocking on doors and be like, hey, are you ready to sell? Are you ready to sell? Because we have so many buyers, but we don't have any homes. Okay, so the question is, you got to ask yourself in this hot market is, what am I willing to pay for it and still be happy, right? So that's when you need to get good comparable homes, good comparables that give you an idea of what the true value is. So if I don't get this home, what's the likelihood of getting a home like this or another home that's affordable? And so that will determine whether or not you're willing to fight for the home and pay more for it, right? So in this case, this house is $259. I had one person say they go up to $300. One person say they go up to $280. I had a cash buyer, at $265, and we sold it for more than that because we were negotiating back and forth with them and sold it higher than that. But the thing is, it's a good deal for this market. Okay. And it's hard to wrap your head around it, but once again, your chances of getting another property in this price range with the, features is what determine the price and the demand for that property. Okay. Now, as a buyer, don't panic. Don't, in this case, don't offer 300,000 for a house that's listed for 265, unless maybe that works for you. And that could very well become our market here, where people are offering in $30,000 and $60,000 more than the asking price. And that's going to determine the market, right? That's going to kind of move everything around and inflate prices even more. But the takeaway from this would be, as a buyer, offer as much as you're willing to feel at peace about without feeling like you regret it. Okay. If you move ahead and you get it for that price, that high price that you've offered, then enjoy, right? But if you push yourself past where you felt comfortable and you're going to move in that house and go, man, I spent too much for this house, and you're going to beat yourself up and you're going to be miserable and you're going to be doubting yourself, then don't do it. Give your best shot and then walk away and pray and be like, okay, Lord, I gave it my best shot. And in these cases, you want to make it a little more personal. You want to tell the seller about yourself and what you're doing. Are you just buying an investment property to rent next door to their friends? Because, if you are, they may not be too thrilled about that. Because a lot of us do care about our neighbors, and we don't just want a bunch of rental homes around us. Now, and people have a right to choose who they want. If you have a family, if you have grandkids, if you like to take care of your property, tell them a little bit about yourself. There's a lot of things to take into consideration. And providing a letter for the seller is important. And I understand there are a lot of investors. I work with investors, and I have nothing wrong with letting investors buy properties. But I also want to make sure they're an investor that's not going to be a slumlord, and stress out the rest of the homeowners. Okay. Another thing, as a seller, you can just sit back and you can make your decisions. You might need to ask, I'm sure you're going to need to ask questions to the agent. Say, well, how quick is their close? Let me talk to their lender. Have they turned in all their paperwork? And then you find all that out through their lender. I always call and talk to the lender and pick their brain, because my clients don't really know exactly what to ask. And then it gives us an idea of how strong they are. Okay. Also, once again, if it's important to the seller to know, do you have a family? Do you have grandkids? Do you have whatever? Tell me a little bit about yourself. The realtor, how good's the realtor? Sometimes there are some realtors that have earned a reputation that's not favorable. So they might just go, yeah, we've heard about them, not really wanting to work with them. Okay. Or have special financing. Sometimes there's different types of financing that makes you feel more comfortable than others. VA financing is very strong. FHA financing is very strong. So is conventional. But if it comes down to conventional VA or FHA, sometimes, especially when it comes to a super, super busy hot market, the VA and the FHA get backlogged a little more than, let's say, conventional in most cases. Now, depending on the lender, sometimes they're smaller boutique lenders. I talked to one a couple months ago, and they were like 6 weeks late on their files because they weren't used to this much volume. So you want to make sure as a buyer that you have a lender and a mortgage company that has excellent underwriting, that closes on time or early, and that they know how to package their loans without hiccup. Okay. And when I have buyers, I tell them it's very important for you to work with a lender like this, because you will lose your opportunities and you will not get a property simply because you're working with a certain mortgage company. And it's not because we're discriminating against them, but because it's very stressful and highly difficult, and there's a lot more fiery hoops, and the process creates trouble. And so realtors know this about certain lenders. So make sure you talk to your lender about who you want to use for financing, and make sure there's someone that they know is going to be smooth and easy to work with, so that you can be more desirable as a buyer. And as a seller, make sure you understand these things too. Okay. I just had a deal where everything was solid. The buyer was solid. The lender was like, oh yeah, solid, got cash, no need for credit, this and that. And now I'm 3 days before closing or 4 days before closing, and I'm told, oh wow, they need another month or so to close because there was a job gap, and I'm thinking, I called you, I asked you all these questions, you said you had everything done and ready, and now you're telling me something that you should have known 4 weeks ago. So that's disappointing. When you do take the time and you do ask the right questions and they haven't done what they should have done early on, like my lenders that I use, they'll know that in week 1, not week 4. They get everything run through week 1, and they'd know about these issues early on, right? So now this lender didn't have that in week 1, like my lenders would, and it's whoops. So anyway, get a good realtor, get a good lender. If you're selling, don't be hasty. Give yourself 2-3 days to respond, evaluate, ask questions, and pray, right? Blacksmith, Kingmaker, let's pray. So praying is a huge part of everything we do here with Jackie O and my husband, Orlando O'Neill, also known as Blacksmith Kingmaker. And if you need us, you know where to find us. Have a good night. Bye.